Who's better for Taiwan, Trump
or Biden? That's what a lot of people in Taiwan are wondering, and we'll be telling you more about that in today's show. I'm Natalie Tso.
And I'm Andrew Ryan. Let's check out the stories on our radar.
The U.S. announced plans to sell Taiwan 3 arms packages worth over $1.8 billion US dollars. The arms include standoff land attack missiles and HIMARS rocket launchers. The U.S. Defense Department officially notified Congress of the proposed packages on Wednesday after the State Department approved them. Taiwanese troops stationed in the outlying Kinmen Islands are conducting annual military drills, but they are being scaled back, and civilians are being kept at a distance due to heightened tensions with China. Some military buffs are disappointed, but the goal is to keep the exercises as low-key as possible. Both chambers of the U.S. Congress have introduced new acts in support of Taiwan. That's with Taiwan and the U.S. facing greater pressure from China. The acts cover defense, diplomacy, health, trade, and cultural ties. The mayors of 2 neighboring cities in southern Taiwan, Tainan and Kaohsiung, have launched an online food fight. They both say their city makes the best braised pork on rice, a beloved Taiwanese dish. The head of nearby Pingdong County has also jumped into the fray, declaring that only Pingdong's braised pork, quote, can melt into your soul.
So if people in Taiwan could vote for the U.S. president, who would they choose?
Well, I took to the streets to find out, and this is what some people had to say.
我希望川普啊。
为什么？
川普对我们做很多事情。
除了川普之外，另外一个好像好一点。对，因为以新冠肺炎而言，就是川普的处理方式不是很好啦。
川普吧，
为什么？
可能对我们比较有利吧。来讲啦，我觉得他可能比较不清楚一点。虽然川普还是有点过度霸气一点，对啊，只是觉得可能对我们比较有利。
就是我不希望川普赢，对，就其他人就好了。对啊，光是看他们2个总统的那什么辩论嘛，对，就觉得川普很没风度，就是很多的新闻下来，就是感觉起来就觉得打从心底不喜欢川普啦。
Well, that's a look at what some people had to say. Was it hard to get people to talk to you?
It was kind of hard. Only about a third of the people were willing to express their opinion on U.S. politics.
Okay. I knew Taiwan politics was very sensitive. I didn't realize U.S. politics would be too.
I guess so. All the way over here in Taiwan.
Well, now that we've seen what some people had to say, let's have a look at the numbers.
A recent UK-based survey found that Taiwan was the only country out of 8 in Asia where more people wanted Trump to become president. 42% support Trump versus 30% for Biden.
Now, people here are not so sure what Biden would do for Taiwan. A local survey found only 16% believe a Biden win would benefit Taiwan.
53% think a Trump presidency would benefit Taiwan, but 59% don't trust Trump either.
So what do you think people here are hoping for?
Well, I think people are happy about how U.S.-Taiwan ties have grown during Trump's presidency, and they're not sure what Biden will do.
Yes, well, certainly Trump has been much more vocal about, his thoughts, especially being anti-China, which people here perceive to be pro-Taiwan. But it's really hard to say whether or not he'll stick to that and what the next 4 years of a Trump presidency could bring.
That's true. That's why they don't trust him, and they are afraid that he may betray Taiwan.
That's right. So recently you spoke with an analyst to find out another perspective. You spoke with Maggie Lewis, who is a Seton Hall law professor.
Yes, she's a visiting scholar here at Academia Sinica. She's also on a task force for U.S. policy on Taiwan with the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a Washington think tank. Now, I asked her what she thought a Biden-Taiwan policy would look like.
We don't have a clear sort of list of these are the 5 or 6 things I would do, but I think we can glean a lot from his more general foreign policy statements. I'm happy when I hear free and open Indo-Pacific because that shows a commitment to making sure that Taiwan, as part of the first island chain, is free and fair and not in Beijing's hands. I think it's important too to hear what he said about getting troops stationed back in Japan and Korea and really having a presence in the region on the military side. And as someone someone who specializes in human rights and criminal justice, I'm really happy to hear about putting human rights and democracy and working with our partners, sort of the like-mindeds, Australia, Canada, other countries that share deep democratic values, which of course is good for support of Taiwan.
We've seen actually in Trump's administration an increase of support for Taiwan in U.S. Congress, passing some of the laws. And even this week, there's some laws proposed, the Taiwan Relations Reinforcement Act. There have been different laws proposed to increase U.S. support for Taiwan at a time when China is becoming more aggressive. But in the past, Biden has proposed more strategic ambiguity in terms of how to defend Taiwan, not being so clear. So where do you think Biden stands in terms of how to support Taiwan if China attacks Taiwan?
If you look at someone's statements back in like 2001 or 2002, that was such a different time. It was different for Taiwan. I mean, certainly under Chen Shui-bian, I think there were some different concerns about the U.S., about what kind of policy pronouncements might come out of Taiwan. And certainly it was a very different time with concerns about where China stood militarily and politically. So I'm always cautious to say, because someone said something about Taiwan even 5 or 10 or even further in the past, that it tells us what they would do today. I do think that Biden has some very good advisors on East Asia and China, and I trust that he's someone who respects expertise, and that bodes well for being a good listener and hopefully being open to understanding why Taiwan matters so much to the United States going forward. Now, with Trump, it is true that there's been a lot of support in the executive branch and also in Congress. Now, the executive branch, of course, we've seen a lot of changes in who is in Trump's cabinet, and I'm always wary, especially given Trump's transactional and mercurial nature, about what a second Trump administration would bring. I don't think we can extrapolate from any of the current support and say that would necessarily continue.
What would you have to say to people in Taiwan who are a bit nervous about the U.S. elections and they don't know how U.S.-Taiwan relations will be going forward?
If you're only a bit nervous, then you're doing much better than most Americans. I have like the CNN anxiety when I turned it on in the morning and have no idea what has occurred overnight. But I mean, it is really it's sad to see where the U.S. is right now, and one reason I'm so grateful to be here, I'm always happy to be in Taiwan, is the absolutely stunning response to COVID. I mean, the Taiwan government and the Taiwan people have done a phenomenal job of pulling together, having a policy that works and sticking with it. And you contrast that with the U.S., and the difference is so stark. So I think there's a lot of anxiety just in general in the U.S., economically, culturally, health-wise. And so, yes, you're right to be nervous, but what we hope is that the election results will be clear. It'll be decided quickly, so we don't have a long period of uncertainty after November 3rd. And then, obviously, my preferences are clear. I hope that Biden and Harris can get to work and start making it so that we don't feel like there's so much uncertainty. But that's just my personal opinion.
Now, it's not just the U.S. president who has a say on U.S. policy towards Taiwan. Congress also has a say.
That's right. In fact, this Tuesday, 2 pro-Taiwan acts were introduced in the House and the Senate.
Let's start with the one in the Senate. So that's called the Taiwan Relations Reinforcement Act. It's a bipartisan act introduced by Marco Rubio, who's a Republican from Florida, and Jeff Merkley, who is a Democrat from Oregon.
Yes, it elevates the AIT director to a Senate-appointed representative to Taiwan. It also calls for strategies to protect U.S. and Taiwan entities from Chinese coercion. And in the House of Representatives, we saw the China Task Force Act introduced.
And actually, that is a bundle of 137 acts, 7 of which have to do with Taiwan. This was introduced by the Republican-led China Task Force in the House in order to counter the negative global influence of the Chinese Communist Party. And here are some of the things it includes. The Taiwan Defense Act would call on the U.S. military to prevent China from taking over Taiwan. The Taiwan Symbols of Sovereignty Act, which would support use of things like Taiwan's national flag in the U.S. And also there are acts that would help Taiwan to join the IMF and the WHO.
Well, I really hope the Taiwan Defense Act passes. I mean, that would be very reassuring for us here in Taiwan.
Yeah, because then the U.S. military would have to protect Taiwan from a Chinese attack. I think that's the biggest one.
Right.
What do you think about the possibility of these acts passing?
Well, I think some of them will probably pass. I'm not sure about all of them, but I think it does show that the U.S. is much more wary about China and its influence on the U.S. and Taiwan. So they're working to protect us and themselves from, aggressive China.
I think it's interesting, too, because in the past we've seen a lot of things like arms sales. We just saw 3 new arms packages from the United States on Wednesday, but now it looks like things are moving towards seeing Taiwan like with a bit of normalcy, so more normal relations, even though not official diplomatic ties.
Yes, so we hope that all of these acts pass in the U.S. Congress.
Have a look at this slice of cake. And now you're probably thinking, cake? I didn't come here for cake. I came here for #Taiwan. If I wanted to watch cake, I would just watch it on the cake watching network that I get on satellite TV, $4.99 a month. But this week, I'm going to tell you how a cake provoked an all-out brawl between Taiwanese and Chinese diplomats in Fiji. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, like a good cake, this story's got layers. October 10th is Taiwan's National Day. Big deal, you're thinking. We've covered this several times in the past few weeks. What else is new? But Taiwan's embassies and offices abroad have a tradition celebrating National Day in the countries where they're located by inviting local officials for a ceremony and reception. We wine them and dine them, if you will. Earlier this week, foreign affairs officials in Taiwan confirmed that a fight broke out between Taiwanese and Chinese diplomats at a National Day reception in Fiji's Grand Pacific Hotel on October 8th. All we have to go off of right now are personal accounts and reports. Police authorities in Fiji are looking into the case. But first, let's toss to Taiwanese Foreign Minister Joseph Wu for his comments. Minister Wu, take it away. We strongly condemn the violence against our diplomat in Fiji by China's uncivilized wolf warriors. As a sovereign state, we'll continue celebrating Taiwan National Day everywhere, every year. Taiwan is a force for good in the world and we won't be intimidated. JW. Washington Post reporter Ryan Ho Kilpatrick tweeted a transcript of China's response to the brawl. It's stuff we've heard before. Blah blah blah, one China policy, blah blah blah, Taiwan belongs to China. But Telegraph reporter Nicola Smith actually pointed out something peculiar about this statement. She said, Chinese diplomats were offended by a cake. She was referring to this part of the Chinese statement, which said, Taiwan's false flag was publicly displayed on the scene, and the cake was also marked with a false flag pattern. China is straight up taking out its frustrations with Taiwan on a sheet cake. Buddy boy, you gotta take it easy on the buttercream. Be better to the batter. Be nice to the cake that's been iced. Don't get cross with the frost. Ha-ting. One might say they were in absolute tears. I mean, who doesn't love cake? Indeed, overseas National Day celebrations will feature a Taiwan cake. That do look like a mighty fine cake if I do say so myself. After learning about what happened, Taiwan's Twitter started paying tribute to cakes. Antoine Collard tweeted a picture of this cake saying, just here to remind you that China got offended by a cake. Duly noted. Tricky Taipei tweeted, since cakes are trending, I'm really into these illustration style cakes by this Taiwanese account. Anyway, if that false flag cake could talk, I bet it would say, you want a piece of me?
Today we're going to play a game called 3 Clues. So in just a moment, I'm going to show Leslie and Natalie 3 clues, and I'm going to ask you to guess an event that is going to take place in Taiwan, somewhere in Taiwan, on November 1st.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
Okay.
You look nervous,
Exciting.
Leslie.
What did it give away? The uh-oh?
Yes. All right, let's have a look at our first clue.
Wow, it's a t-shirt.
Interesting. Nice colors.
Are these 2 different t-shirts?
We have yellow, red, green, and gray.
Kind
in
of
the
earthy
colors and
tones.
like a design with 2 circles and a line.
And I have to tell you, this
no
is
idea.
actually the t-shirt designs for the event.
Okay.
Doesn't bode well that I've never seen it
Okay.
before.
Related to green energy or something?
No.
Okay.
But also, what's on the front there is a stylized Chinese character.
Your Chinese is good.
I need
What
to
is
go
it?
back to Chinese school, man. This is bad.
It's okay.
It looks like 100 sideways.
100.
100 sideways, if you look at it that way.
Okay. Well, stick with that. Don't make any final guesses
Okay.
yet. Let's have a look at clue number 2.
Is that a birthday cake with flowers and daisies on it and a circle of orange candles?
You got the most important part. It is
Birthday
a birthday
cake.
cake.
It's a birthday cake.
That's a cool looking cake.
Right.
So somebody's birthday, anniversary.
Something's
Okay.
going on.
You guys are getting hot.
Alrighty.
All right, let's have a look at clue number 3.
Ooh, nice park.
That is Kaohsiung City. There's the 85 Sky Tower. It's sunset, maybe 4:55 p.m.
Beautiful
on an
picture.
autumn afternoon.
So Kaohsiung birthday and
And a
100.
T-shirt with what looks like 100 on it.
100th anniversary of something in Kaohsiung?
Yeah, you're super hot. Like, you can't get hotter than that.
The 100th anniversary of the Kaohsiung port.
Nope.
No.
Actually, I'm going to make this super easy on you. It's the 100th anniversary of Kaohsiung. Those 2 characters that make up the city name.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So let me walk you through the name of Kaohsiung. It's a bit of a meandering road. Do you know some of the old names of Kaohsiung?
I have no idea.
Okay, so one of the
No.
old names, the oldest name is probably Takao, which means a spiky kind of bamboo that was growing in the area and it kept pirates away, and that's an indigenous name.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, Chinese speakers arrived in that area like many hundreds of years ago, and they came up with the name Da Gou, like to
Okay.
hit a dog.
It sounds
'Cause
similar, though.
Sounds similar, right?
Right.
Now, let's fast forward to the Japanese arriving in that area. And in 1920, I guess on November 1st, 1920, they decided that they were going to change the name Dagou into something more pleasant. And so they chose an actual place name in Japan that sounds like Takao. That's how you pronounce it. Well, my Japanese is terrible. I think it's Takao. But that's the 2 characters that we use now today for the
Kaohsiung.
city of Kaohsiung. If you pronounce it in Japanese, it's Takao.
Interesting. So Kaohsiung actually means tall and Xiong is like a hero.
Yeah, or like
Kao hero.
high-flying hero.
Right.
Yeah.
So Japanese tourists are coming to the city of Kaohsiung thinking they're going to Takao City.
Yes, that's correct.
That's just...
Now, final question for you. When do you think Kaohsiung became Kaohsiung, like the actual Chinese pronunciation became the official way to say the city's name?
1950?
Close, 1945.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when, I guess, when the Japanese left Taiwan, and then people began pronouncing place names exclusively with the Chinese pronunciation.
Hey, it's a nice name. Thanks for that.
Yes, so there you go. That is our brain game for the week, and happy 100th birthday of Kaohsiung, or Takao.
Welcome to this week's Taiwan News Quiz, where this week I am the quiz master, and my job is to try and stump Natalie and Andrew with questions about the news. And if you're playing at home, my job is to try and stump you too. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock, please. Here we go. Guys, number 1, there are speculations that China will invade Taiwan during the U.S. election, but one military researcher says it won't happen because of this geographical reason.
The beaches are too hard to
come out and
Correct. Taiwanese people love their iPhones. In fact, online retailer PC Home says that its first round of pre-orders for the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Max sold out in how fast?
10 minutes?
5 minutes.
Less than a minute.
What?
Forget about it.
The NCC, for the first time ever, is holding hearings for a license renewal of what TV news
Zhongtian?
channel? Correct, CTI News. In Taiwan, she's known as the Queen of New Year's because of her several outlandish December 31st performances. However, this popular Taiwanese pop star says she will not perform this year. Who is she?
Oh, it's not Zhang Huimei. I thought it was going to be Ame.
Jolene Tsai?
No.
Outlandish.
Outlandish. I call her the Lady Gaga of Taiwan. I know you got it. I know you got it.
Come on. No, I don't.
谢金燕姬.
Oh, yes, of course.
Last question. An animal at the Taipei Zoo has gone missing. What kind of animal is it?
Aardvark, right?
No, it's not an
aardvark.
aardvark.
I mean, anteater.
Anteater.
It's an
That's what I meant.
anteater.
That's what I meant.
They're both A names, like Andro.
And this happened.
You're not missing. It's right here.
This happened almost a week ago right after our show, but then we had a video that we wanted to share, and I had to share it with you because this anteater took its baby and it jumped a moat. They found the baby, but the anteater mama is nowhere to be seen.
I hope she's okay.
If you are worried about her, just act like me and think this is a Pixar movie in the making. I wonder what adventures this anteater is having right now. And we're going to toss to that video right now to show you what happened.
Footage released by Taipei Zoo shows its anteater carrying a 6-month-old baby on its back. It runs along the barrier of its enclosure and then jumps into a moat. This footage was taken on September 1st, and the anteater hasn't been seen since. Taipei Zoo spokesperson Eric Cao says it's obvious the electric fence did not stop the anteater from running away. The anteater and its baby moved to Taipei Zoo in late August. Although the zoo found the baby on the same day of the escape, its mother has been missing for a month and a half. Taipei Zoo is concerned about the anteater's safety. That's because the cold weather approaching Taiwan is not good for the tropical mammal. That's not to mention possible attacks by stray dogs and wild civets. Cao says the search is still on.
And finally today, because Leslie talked about cake today, the final question is, what's your favorite cake?
I'm inclined to say cheesecake.
Oh,
Cheesecake.
I can go for tiramisu anytime.
Oh, excellent. I would say millefeuille, the 1,000-layer cake. We actually had that in Feast Meets West for our 1,000th episode with Alan Chu. Well, thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of Taiwan Insider. Be sure to connect with us on social media.
Yes, if you liked our show, subscribe and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. For Taiwan Insider, I'm Natalie Tso.
I'm Leslie Liao.
And I'm Andrew Ryan. See you next week.